It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Welcome, everybody. It's another day's journey, and we are live and in living color. Got a few guests. We're talking about a few things today. You want to let people know we are on the air. We're talking about some, forgiveness of some bills, for lack of a better term, but there are some qualifying ways that you must do it. So get close to the radio right now and take notes because it's going to help you. Hey, Jen, hope you're feeling better. Hey, Carolyn, who's on Facebook. Hey to everybody on our YouTube. Hey to everybody on AM. Hey to everybody on FM. Hey to just everybody, Lottie Dottie and everybody. So we're going to be talking about that. Be telling you some new information about a closure of a street close to the Fruit Belt area over by City Honors so that you are prepared for it and your neighbors are prepared for it. I'm going to update you on my role on a facility coming into the Fruit Belt on Maple Street. I'm going to give you the 411. I ain't going to run away from it. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to see how much time we have. I want to talk about these Kias, and my heart is going out to these families, let you know about some of the GoFundMe sites. I got so much to talk about. And then finally, I had a segment here for African-American wealth and African-Americans starting to build wealth. We better do it now because how things are changing. If we don't do it now, there's a song that says now or never. So I want to deal with that today. But mostly what we're going to talk about in the beginning of the show, and then I've got a guest that's going to be coming on, is, first of all, I want to start out in a somber tone and giving respect to the lives that were lost the other day on the Kensington young people. And whatever the circumstance is not what I'm going to deal with today. It's just the fact that I do think that, I don't know if you all know that there is and let me say this, it has not been, I don't know if it's been founded that this is what the teens are doing. So I want to be careful because I never want to be a part of that crew that starts talking out of my mouth and I don't have the facts. So let me separate these two. And let me just talk about, first of all, these Kias and this TikTok thing. And at Sunday morning at True Bethel, Swan, member comes out of church, car is gone, glasses on the ground. And this TikTok video has been going on and on and on and on. To me, this is to me. Now Kia is responding with a lock, steering wheel lock, being made available to drivers, owners of certain Kias. And to me, this is just Darius talking, to me, there should have been a massive recall. There should have been a recall if you can use a simple USB tool. And is that my phone bouncing back? And starting, is it mine? No. Okay. If you can use a simple USB tool and start a car, I got it, Kia. You giving drivers now a lock. But why wasn't there a recall that Kia had a simple fix to make sure that, this doesn't happen? Kids are going to be kids. Now, I'm just going to say this, and I'm not excusing anything if it happened, but I don't know that. So I'm not going to get, my position is, and I said this to a news agency, is to mourn those who we have lost, period. These are kids. These are young people. So I don't really have the mental capacity to be now pointing, oh, they shouldn't have that, because I don't know that. I wasn't in that car. I have no idea. So I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. What I'm concerned about is that if this is something and it's in being shared in a kid's platform or where kids are going to try it. Some of them doesn't make it right. But at the end of the day, I think this is just Darius G. Pridgen. I think that that there should be a recall so that it can't happen. Because even if you start to put out and that's a good start. I mean, I ain't hating on that, but it still can then that little whatever they're able to do can still be done. So Amber Bowling says, get all Kias off the market. Well, it's not all of them though. It's only certain models that are able that you can do allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly because I ain't never did it. I don't know. Again, my heart is going out to the families. One young lady has a baby that she's left, and so my heart is going out to them. I'm just reading from Buffalo News. Marcus Webster, 19, Kevin Payne, 16, were both enrolled in Youth Build, which is a part of the Service Collaborative. So somebody was getting them involved in our community. And then there is a fundraiser, and you can go right to, because there's a few fundraisers. I wish it was one, because people won't know where to go sometime, but fundraiser was set up for the youth family through GoFundMe. If you go to the paper, so there is a fundraiser, it looks like, for Marcus and Kevin, and then there is a fundraiser for Ajane Harper, who would have turned 15 on the 1st, and she leaves a baby daughter, and then a 4th teenager, I believe it's pronounced Swazine, Swindle, 17 of Buffalo, was also killed. It doesn't show a GoFundMe for them. Let me say why I'm bringing this up, and it all tied in. And then I'm going to talk about this. Then I'm going to my phone call, my guest who is on to talk about some ways. What is it? Is it sewer and water?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so that certain people may be eligible for help with sewer and water. We're going to talk about that. I'll let them say it so I don't say it wrong. But the reason I wanted to talk about the accident today is because in other communities, and I just saw it a couple weeks ago, where you have these tragedies like this, and no parent, not that I know of, not many parents, prepared to lose their 14-year-old daughter.
Not at all.
They don't prepare to have to take care of a little girl. They don't prepare to lose their sons and all that. So, especially teenagers, regardless of the situation, because none of us were there, other communities will fund and help. Now, it's one thing, and I'm just going to say this. It's one thing when you ask me to give to a GoFundMe for a grown person who has worked all of their life, who was healthy enough to get insurance, and they didn't. I don't know what to tell you. Or a grown person who could have gotten insurance and they didn't. That's one thing. That's one thing. But when we're talking about children, I'm going to donate to every one of these funds. I'm going to donate to every one of these funds. And the reason I'm going to donate to every one of these funds for these children, for their funerals or for whatever expenses, when I give, you can't put it, it's only going to go for the funeral. You can, but to me, whatever that family wants to do, they do it. But at the end of the day, and that's where I was tying it in, we've got to have wealth. Sometimes we don't have the wealth in order to be able to say, I want to help somebody else. So we're going to talk about that. But the GoFundMe sites are, you can go to buffalonews.com and I'm sure other places if you want to help the families that have set up GoFundMe sites, Ajane, and to the 2 other young men. And it is possible that one will appear for Swazine Swindle. But again, from my heart goes out to these families, because that's one thing. No parent expects to have to bury their child. And I think when a community comes together, instead of being accusatory or going by rumors or pointing the finger, we become a better community. I've got a guest with me today. Who do I have on, Mark?
We have OJ McFoy.
OJ is on?
Yep.
OJ, are you there?
I am, Pastor. How are you?
Good. Hold on. Let me get my audio right. Okay. I'm very well. OJ, tell them what department you're the head of.
So I am the general manager of the Buffalo Sewer Authority, as well as serving as chairman of Buffalo Water Board.
So you wear a lot of hats, OJ.
Not as many as you, sir.
We're neck and neck. Tell us what you're on about today, because it's an exciting program.
It really is. And so we truly appreciate you having us on today just to talk about our latest program. And our latest program is really geared around ensuring that everybody, all of our customers, not only have the wherewithal, but they have the flexibility to make sure that they stay in good standing. And so we have Phaedra with us, and she's bringing this program that has been proven in other cities where it really focuses in on our customers, treating them like grown folks, and ensuring that they have the flexibility with the understanding that, not everybody gets paid every 2 weeks or what have you, but it's something new. It's something that we have not been able to do in-house. So we've been partnering with Promise to do that. And it really focuses in on your water and sewer bills. So there's a lot of money out there to get them paid down, but it's not enough just to get their arrears kind of paid off. We want to make sure to keep our customers in good standing. So with that, Pastor, if you would, I'd love to have Phaedra kind of talk about the new program.
Absolutely. Thank you, OJ.
Thank you, Pastor, for having me on. And it's a real joy to get to partner with OJ and the incredible work that he and his team do to make sure affordability. And so Promise is a company, and we believe that, as OJ said, that people want to pay their bills, that when something happens, structurally the system is broken usually. And what we do is, in the same way we think a lot about if you have money and you want to buy a Peloton, it's 0 interest down. We make it as easy as possible. Venmo, Cash App, any way you can pay. And so what OJ's commitment is and what we're partnering on is to make sure that everyone can actually pay when they've fallen behind. And so anyone who owes over $250, they're able to come and they can put something down. They can keep their water on. They can pay in whatever way makes sense. They can reach us by phone. They can reach us by text. But it's really about recognizing that the way that people make payments should be as easy as possible. And we want to meet people where they are. And what we found is we have a 93% repayment rate. And so we know that when we make programs, not punitive, but when we make programs and meet people where they are with dignity, with grace, and accessibility, that people show up. And we're really proud to be partnering with you all to do that.
So tell us how this program runs. I got a bill I got a $500, I don't, but a person has a $500 bill, water bill, they're behind. Who qualifies and what occurs?
It's a great question. So one is, we're reaching out to people proactively to tell them they qualify. So some people, which is why this show is so important, are going to receive a text that says, you qualify for this program, click the link and you can enroll. So one is we're going to reach out to people. The second is if you're calling the water company, they will tell you that you qualify for it. But you can call us at 716-215-2635. That's 716-215-2635. And you can self-enroll if you have a bill. You can also go to our website, which is buffalowater.promise-pay.com. You can also email us at support@promise-pay.com. So you can call, email, click a link, get a text message, and we want to make it as easy as possible. And all you need is that behind bill, and we're going to work with you to keep your water on and to be able to make sure that you have a plan that works for you to make payments.
So I want to go backwards in history, because this is an important bill. This is an important move by the administration, by your board, to make sure that water, which is necessary for life, is on, and people just have to enroll. Before that, would water have been cut off?
So, Pastor, I can jump in on that. We have not done water shutoffs for over 2 years,
Wow.
especially during this pandemic. And really, we are focusing in on ensuring that that's something that we no longer have to do. We've made a commitment, especially for our low-income customers, not to shut them off. What ends up happening is, we're looking at this from a business case, is when you shut people off, you trigger an entire domino effect of bad things happening in their families. And so these are the things that we've done. We're setting up. We're also doing Promise. We're working with the state with the low-income household water assistance program. We're doing a number of things to keep everyone's water off. Or on, excuse me.
Well, and you're right. The administration, the city, made a decision that during COVID we would not cut off anybody's water, but we knew that sooner or later it had to move forward. So what I am glad and what Phaedra just said is so important. Like, if you get in the Peloton, they're going to work with you. They want you to have it. So to hear now that there is a program, so don't run away, folks, from your water bill. They're saying it's a program. So this program, I call in, I enroll, I've got a $500 bill. Is it tailor-made to my situation then?
Yeah, you can actually
Absolutely.
pick it. Yeah, absolutely. And so you can say, I need 3 months to do it. I need this many months to do it. There's some opportunities for you to pick what works for you. And because we want this to be a good experience, I think we are executing the vision, I think, of the administration and of OJ. And so it is all about kind of a custom experience to be able to make sure people can absolutely pay their bills. And so, yeah, so you could say, I can do it in 3 months. Some people say I can do it in a month, and they end up doing it in 2 weeks, or some people take a little bit longer. But that's what we want to do, is meet people where they are.
So one of my final questions is this, because I think people need to know why it's important to pay the water bill. Because if a person, let's say, just says, you know what, I'm not going to pay it, I'm going to let this go in arrears for about 2 years, what are the consequences and what you're trying to avoid happening to people?
Pastor, the ultimate consequence is that you end up with your home in foreclosure.
Yep.
That is the ultimate consequence. So that goes beyond water shutoffs. That goes into your home being lost. That is under real property tax law. That's the last procedure in recovering arrearages for water and sewer.
And I wanted to get to that so that people would understand. And for those of you on social media, Mark has just put up the graphic of who to contact and how it can be convenient and affordable. I think that this is tremendous. Let me tell you this. Somebody on Facebook just said this is huge. It is huge because you could literally lose your home for a back water bill. And one of the things that we saw when we were trying to help with people's rent so they wouldn't be put out is a lot of people just failed to apply, failed to get involved. And so you all being proactive is important, and reaching out to people who have a back bill to say, here, we have help. But folks, I'm telling you who are watching, those of you on YouTube, those of you on Facebook, those of you on AM and on FM, you gotta use the program for the program to work. So I'm going to throw it back over to the program folks. And once again, tell them all of the ways they can contact or to get involved in the program.
Yes. So you can call us at 716-215-2635. That's 716-215-2635. You can go to our website, buffalowater.promise-pay.com. That's BUFFALOWATER.promise, PROMISE-PAY.com. You can also email us at support, SUPPORT, at promise-pay.com. So go to our website, call us, email us, respond to our text message. We really want to be able to help people make this a manageable bill.
Thank you. Hey, OJ, can I ask you a question that I'm getting on Facebook from somebody?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to read it verbatim. It says, I'll get to this part. Yeah, is it true that Buffalo has a water problem with their sewer? My landlord is telling me we have very low pressure in this house. I think he turned the pressure down himself. He's one of them who's buying up everything on these side. Basically, let me get to the question. How could you get someone to come out and check on low water pressure? So they're not necessarily blaming the city. They're saying they think their landlord is doing it. How does a person get their low water pressure tested?
We actually have inspectors that will go out and do a house visit. It's our people. So if they can contact Buffalo Water, if they call us at our phone number there, and we'll have an inspector go out to do some pressure readings.
That's why I love this show. See, the question is answered. O.J. Phaedra, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Pastor.
All right, bye-bye. See, I love that because this is why I love this situation, because we have a person out here who's renting, Amber, on Facebook. The landlord is saying, oh, it's the city, and she said, I think it's him. Now, either way, information just went out.
Absolutely.
And you can call and get an inspector. If you have low water pressure, you can call over to the water authority, and they can send out an inspector. I would suggest that because that's what OJ said, but I would do two things. I would call water and I would call 311 so that you have multiple streams going in, Amber. Because that was good. Now, this is big, folks. I'm bringing you the information, but you've got to pass it on to other people. And, this is people don't realize how many people have it really tough who own property. Mm-hmm. It's usually in Buffalo, it's the landowner who will pay the water bill or pass it on to the tenant. That becomes a little bit more difficult. But even if it's tenant, somebody's got to pay the water bill. So find out whether and I should have asked them that about the renters who pay water. But call the number. The information is out there. Information is power. But do not lose your home. Let me say it again. Do not lose your home because of a backwater bill, because it's not necessary in the city of Buffalo. I can't talk about no other municipality. I'm talking about the city of Buffalo. During the pandemic, the city said leave all water in because water is life. Water is life. And at the end of the day, this is important. I can't say enough about OJ and his team and working with them in different situations, for instance, in the Fruit Belt, and working with us on sinkholes, working with us on things that have gone that we didn't create, but that we have a responsibility to address. And OJ and his team just does a wonderful, wonderful job. So thank you for that. Again, I'm going to give you that number one last time before I move on to topics. It is area code 716, and y'all do know, in a minute, you're going to have to dial the area code 716, even before the other one goes into full effect, to get everybody starting to understand. 716-215-2635. 215-2635. Got a water bill behind over $250. Or if you know of someone, share. And Amber says, as soon as possible, thank you. I love it. I love the connection and having the ability to connect. So let me, Fruit Belt folks, and all of you, and those of you who are around the medical campus, this is important for you to know. So City Honors, formerly known as Fosdick-Maston, where my mother graduated from high school, they are requesting that the street Fosdick, which is right in front of the front door of City Honors, they are requesting that street so that they can close it off and return the field to basically what it was in the beginning. So there would be no street there. My concern, or just my looking out for the residents in that area, has been, where does the traffic go during dismissal, during assemblies where parents may come, during games when people are there, if that street is closed. If the city does what's called abandon the street, it doesn't mean we walk away from it. It basically means we sell it to their project. They do not own the place. If some of you who have been around, you know that BMHA, Buffalo Housing, Municipal Housing Authority, had those little apartments at the end of the field and knocked them down. You may think that Fosdick already, City Honors already owns them, but they don't. They haven't closed on those yet. So one of the things that is holding up, according to folks from the Board of Education, the closing is this field being given to or sold to the project. Now, here is my concern and why I insisted on a traffic study, number one, that the Board of Education agreed to pay for, and they have completed it. It is online. But after the study came back, there were some concerns or things that needed to be addressed. So when they came back to the council and said, okay, we want the street, I said, not yet. I want to see a pilot project of us closing the street for, we originally talked about a month. We agreed to 2 weeks. And then if we had to extend it because of problems, we would consider it. So for 2 weeks, beginning in November, I left my notes in the back.
November 7th.
November 7th, 2 weeks beginning November 7th, that street will be closed. And all of that traffic is going to have to be diverted. Now, if we give up the street, it's going to have to be diverted anyway. So we want to see in advance how that's going to affect the neighborhoods. So before it's closed, there will be a flyer that will go out. There will be emails that will go out, and it will ask for feedback also, so that you will be able to call our office and say, hey, this is going wrong during this pilot, or I got too many cars parking in my neighborhood that would have been parking on Fosdick or would have been parking anywhere else, whatever the situation is, or this is a dangerous corner. Now, I've been asking for years for new striping over there. I learned something new today, folks. I learned something that I did not know. Maybe it's been told to me and I just didn't understand it. Do you know that one of the reasons for the delays in striping, and I'm not talking about just coming out, putting down the paint like we do in our parking lots and all that. I'm talking about this striping that lasts 7 to 8 years because it has epoxy. There is only one company. Let me put my finger up, the first finger. One company in the region that takes care of Western New York, Pennsylvania, parts of Ohio, one company. So when we need permanent striping, we are in line with every other municipality around us. Y'all hear me? I just learned that today. One company. So the other companies that do striping have tried to bid, is what I was told, but because it's not the permanent ones, then it's taken up when the snowplows finish, right? So if you put down the ones that are not permanent and in between salt and, the weather changes, it'll be gone in a year, which is a waste of money, right? So you want the ones that are 7 to 8 years. Now, some might say, well, why is it one company? They have, what I was told today, they have a corner on the market. It takes special equipment to do it, and in my head, so I'm just sending out a thought out here to the airways. I'm sending out a thought out here to you business entrepreneurs, to you capital investors. Putting down striping is not rocket science. It is science, though. It's not rocket science, but it is science, and it takes the capital to create it. Now, if I were an investing man, and which I am, I'd be looking for some folk who are already doing striping. If I'm talking about black wealth, some folks who are already doing striping and doing it well and known and know the technology, and I'd be investing. I'm trying. I put it out there. I put it out there 10 years ago to buy in the fruit belt. Many people didn't listen to me. I'm putting it out there. If only one company in an entire region, one, can do the permanent striping, what we call permanent striping because it lasts 7 to 8 years, in a street, what would happen if another company opened up? Whether you started small or started big, I suggest looking into it. I'm just trying. Come on. Chucky said, hint, hint. I'm trying to teach. See, this is information, and information is power. I ain't got time for Facebook information and stuff. I'm telling you what I was just told from the folks who put out the RFPs, requests for proposals. They said to me, because I said I need that striping done before we close that street. They said, we are trying to get it done next week. My question is, why is it so hard to get it done? And they answered me, one company in the region. That's crazy. Because then if it's one company, they can kind of charge whatever they want. There's no competition.
That's a straight monopoly.
That's a straight monopoly. And you can't tell me companies out here, there's a lot of city companies that do blacktop. And they got to hire somebody. Most of them don't do striping. They got to hire, so somebody's already doing the paint striping. Why not take it up a level? Why not take smaller contracts with the city, buy your equipment, perfect your craft? Let me say it, perfect your craft so you don't go out here bidding on stuff that you can't deliver and then they just cut you off. Perfect your craft and get a piece of this market. You're talking about a multi-million-dollar market to put stripes down in the street. Come on, y'all. Yep. Come on. We got it. I'm just trying to teach. I'm just trying to give the information. So those streets are going to be closed. I want to hear from you. Let me talk about, and I really didn't want to talk about it because I don't want anybody to think I'm going against something. But I'm also not going to be blamed for something that I didn't do. So there is a respite, what is considered like a mental health respite center it's not open yet, to open. And I want to be very, very careful of what I say because I do believe this will end up in court. It may. So and they will subpoena this show. So I want to make sure that I'm protecting the residents that elect me. So I was invited to a location on Maple Street that used to be a hospice. It was under contract already to become a respite or a place where people who maybe mentally just having a moment, and it's not, and I'm not going to speak for the developer, they'll have to speak for themselves because I told them to speak for themselves to those residents and to hold residential meetings. But basically, a respite where people would be able to come, sleep, not a drug and alcohol abuse clinic, not a methadone clinic, but when people are struggling a little bit, need to rest, need to get out of a situation that they can, kind of get it together. Now, this is what's happened. The city, let me teach, the city does not license these facilities. Usually, it is the county or the state. Mm-hmm. And at times, the federal government. When the county, the state, or the federal government, just like what we're seeing in university district with the methadone clinic, they don't come to the city and ask for permission because they don't have to. They are considered a superior government. And what people often do not understand is superior governments very rarely come to the city, and definitely not to the council, and say, can we? They make decisions and they move forward. And if they don't need anything from little me, they don't come to little me. So at the end of the day, I expected those folks who gave license and who were supporting this, that's their. Let me tell you what it looks like if I then say, I'm going to put together a community meeting for something I have nothing to do with, that I have no power. Then all of the blame becomes mine if it doesn't work. So I said to the folks walking through there, I said, let me tell you how Darius Pridgen works. If my neighbors want it, because they're like, you might have a neighbor who wants to come in and they just need a break, or a child, and we have we need mental health in our community. I agree. So let me tell you all this. I agree that we need more places to help us with mental health. And that was basically my statement. Here was my second statement. If the neighbors do not agree, I would suggest you not put money into this. So that, because if they don't agree, I'm not going to agree. You were with me. Am I right, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Did I not say that?
Yes, very clear.
There were other elected officials there. I was very, very clear. Keep calling back. How we going? How we going? Oh, we talked to the neighbors. Oh, we blah, blah, blah. Oh, we da, 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 da. What happens? I'm now getting calls from the neighbors. Not just any neighbors. Let me be clear. The neighbors right next door.
Behind it.
Neighbors behind it who's saying we did not get any notification. This is the crap I don't like. You can't come into our communities and listen. I'm not saying that the program isn't wonderful. I don't know. I know what they told me. I know that we need more mental health counseling in our communities, but I also know we need the respect of our communities. That when you want to come into our communities, the people right behind you ought to know. And the reason the ones right behind you ought to know is because there's a driveway that goes out the back in between two residential houses. Come on now. Come on, come on. And then people will think, oh, Pridgen is trying to stop something. I am not. But I'm always, almost always, unless it's something outlandish, going to be on the sides of the residents that I represent. So I need you to know that there was no, listen to this, and you can quote me, there was not one approval needed by the Common Council. So there are certain approvals that may have gone forward that I would not know about because I did not have to vote on them. You can go look at the Common Council agenda. You can go to the agendas. You can do the search bar. You can put it in. It's not going to come up where Darius Pridgen or the Buffalo Common Council had to approve anything. Now, the folks who had to approve it are now stepping up. But I want to make it clear. There are projects going on all over Ellicott. So it is very difficult for me to know every single one of them if they don't have to come to me. Ellicott is huge, and it encompasses downtown, east side, west side. But when I do get the information that the process that I said to get my support has to happen didn't happen, then the relationship changes. You get it? Then the relationship changes. Because I don't want anybody ever to get the thought that we can come into Ellicott, we don't have to engage the community, and we just get to do what we want because it was a hospice. Because when we did the changing of the code, there were bars in communities, and we turned it all into residential. And in order for a bar to open back up, if you got like I won't say like the Humboldt Inn, more embedded in the neighborhood. Humboldt Inn is kind of on Main Street. I don't even think it's open. I just use that because that's the only bar I really know. That's the only one I really know. But not like a Humboldt Inn. I'm talking about, they had those little corner bars right in the middle of a community. Most of those, if they weren't open, those communities turned to residential. Then you have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to get it turned around. But I'm going to say it one more time, one again. The Buffalo Common Council had no approval, all I could do was use my bully pulpit, which I used over and over. So now we got a problem. But it's on the record, and you can have anybody come back and look at the Facebook and say, if anybody said, well, Pridgen ain't tell us, I wish that I could tell everybody everything going on. But at the end of the day, this was authorized by some government body, and that's where we got to get down and dig and then figure out what happened. And I stand with the residents. And because I wouldn't want to wake up, come on, let's be honest. I don't want to wake up, it's construction happening right in my backyard. And again, I am all for mental health. I got to say that over and over and over because God knows we need mental health help in our communities. It's just how things are done and including people so you can hear their concerns. and you can make sure you're a good neighbor. So that's Amber Bowling. She's asking a lot of good questions. Everybody's asking good questions. What about people just renting out a building for their rehab residential area? If it's zoned for that, they can. If it's not zoned for that, and that's where we got to learn zoning. And maybe on this show, Mark, we should do a little tutorial on how the average citizen can just look up right on the website to see what a building is zoned as.
Absolutely.
Maybe in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Maybe in 2 weeks. And maybe we'll have somebody on, see if somebody from the city. But I just want to do it from just a regular, I want to know if this building is zoned for this, and I want to see the list, because it's a really easy to read list. I got to give it up to the zoning folks and everybody who wrote the new map. It's not like the old days. You can literally go on the city's website, put in an address.
Yep.
I'll give y'all the first hint. You can go on, look for properties. It's a little, you got to figure out how to do it, because you don't put the number in a certain box and you don't put it in. It's going to bring up the owner, the known owner. It will bring up their mailing address. It will also bring up the code, the zone, what is zoned as. Then you take that little number. Now, what I would love is if you could click that as we advance, and it takes you right to that thing. Like if it says, you just click it and it takes you to what can happen there. But you'll have to go to another place and look up, if it's, I'm just going to throw out A1IA. Okay, let me go and look and see what A1A can do in this building. That's power. That's power. So maybe in 2 weeks, because I want time to have some slides and to have the right stuff, and so that I can make it easy for you to know what your area is zoned off, zoned as. Yeah,
Yep.
zoned as. All right, see, I'm able to get everything in today, everything. Folks, when we talk about, and I told you, we talk about giving, even politically, you can't give politically if you don't have nothing to give. And that affects your talk. If y'all want some real talk, that affects a lot. When you can't give and a candidate can't get their message out.
Yep.
Because somebody who has a lot more money is able to be so much more loud. And I mean, as far as signs, as far as messaging, as far as branding. And then if we don't have anything, sometimes it's very hard to get people in positions to be able to help change and take care of you. We have to stop running away from the conversation of generational wealth, of generational status. We can't. If you want to, you can. But, Black wealth is falling behind, according to Brookings Institute. It's falling further behind. We're still falling further behind. I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman today. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not going to say the organization. But basically who was talking about building more than basketball courts. That was because I agree. We think that the only way we're going to get some people, is if our kids become basketball, football players or baseball players. That's not the only place to get wealth. We were over at Northland Corridor the other day.
Yeah.
Seeing all of those programs and seeing all of those black and brown people in those programs who are leaving out of there and getting jobs for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 by learning how to use their hands and their mind. You might say, well, that ain't the wealth you're gonna get on a football field. It might not be the immediate wealth, but if you take what you have and you're taught how to do right with it, and you're taught how not to waste it, and you're taught how to invest it. So we're falling behind, according to Brookings. By comparison, differences between non-Hispanic whites and Hispanic households were smaller than differences between black and white households. And in many specifications, were not statistically different from zero. We are still at the bottom. And then we wonder. I got some of the reasons why. First of all, now there's some solutions here. I've got two different articles. One is it talks about reparations. Now, when we talk about reparations, I know we've been talking about 40 acres and a mule. Don't nobody want no mule no more, right? I don't want no mule. Don't bring me no daggone mule. Don't bring me no mule. And I don't want no 40 acres in Idaho. Although I would take it if they give it to me.
Absolutely.
But we are talking about opportunities for people of color who have been disproportionately negatively affected by policies and everything else. One of those ways is happening right now, whether you agree with the cannabis law or not. I'm just using it as an example. That the leaders of the state said, no. That we got to be able to have stores, got to be able to own stores if we were put in jail and now the government wants to make money of it, right? So it's those type of things. Student loan forgiveness, those type of things. But we got to be able to concentrate on people and not be ashamed of it, who have been disproportionately affected by laws, regulations, and ordinances. The other, it says education. Education. For me, that's number one. Mm-hmm. Education. We have got to be serious about education. Now, I'm struggling with a 14, I got a 13 and 15 to try to make sure that they get the best education that I can possibly provide. But that takes, even on me, man, I got to check that homework every night. You think I want to? I have to. And do you think we slip? Yes. Do you think my kids are doing it perfectly? Hegs, no. But I know if I don't take that half hour in a day, if Monique doesn't take that half hour in a day to look, to check, that I'm going to have to I may have to take a half hour a week to go visit. Y'all getting me? Education. Almost everyone talks about housing, buying where you sleep if you can, or at least having a goal. And the most motivated people usually find a way to buy. They find a program. They just keep going after it. You get turned down. What you cannot get is discouraged and be like, well, ain't nothing out here working, and just go sit in a corner and be like, ain't nobody doing nothing for me. No. You got to be motivated. You got to save. Here's the second thing, or one of the last things, savings. I did not start saving until later in life, and I regret that. But, you're young, you want stuff, you buy stuff. In the end, I wish I had been much more disciplined about savings. And then one of these articles from the Brookings Institute talk about bonds, and bonds aren't what they used to be, but they are better than nothing. Back in my day, I don't even know if they still double. I found bonds that, I paid $50 for that were $100 now. Do they know that type of interest out there? And finally, I had another article that talked about businesses. But let me talk to Black Buffalo real quick. You can't be successful as a people in business if it's your own people dogging out your business. Come on, somebody. Come on, I'm preaching. Have you ever noticed that there are multiple Asian restaurants around? I have never seen, and maybe they got their own little paper and their own little way and their own radio shows, I don't know. I ain't never seen one Asian restaurant dogging out the other Asian restaurant. I ain't seen it. We got all of these delis out here. Say what you want to about them. At the end of the day, they do have their inner fighting, by the way. I do know that.
Yes.
I do know that. But did you hear what I said? They have their inner fighting. They fighting right now. A couple of them fighting right now. One of them putting out the other out to the building so he can open up his store. That's business. But where haven't you seen it? Where haven't you? You ain't seen it on Facebook. You ain't seen it on Twitter. You ain't seen it in no paper. You ain't seen it nowhere because it's inner stuff. And they're still buying. Houses. I know what y'all saying. Certain people buying up all the houses. They are. You are totally right. Why won't the government do? The government can't say you can't buy a house with your money. Oh, they get tax breaks. I keep saying to everybody, show me where the tax breaks are. Show me. I don't know that world. As far as they go out and buy a house, they paying the same taxes. But let's be honest. Come on, let's go to school. I watched them together work on the houses. I watched them together. A brother came by my house the other day, just riding past. I saw a house on Northampton down by Maston, past Maston going toward Michigan. And this house was raggedy. I'm sorry, bro, but I'm telling the truth. House was raggedy. I saw them all summer. I didn't know who was working on it. I didn't go down there, heard them. They worked late into the night, later than they should have been working, right? Because in Northern, I ain't care. The brother rode past the other day. He said, yeah, man, I'm doing that house right there. I said, are you kidding? I was so proud, and I shouldn't have had to be that proud, but I saw like people together working on it. So what one person told me, he said, yeah, I moved from New York here because I could buy a house here for $200,000. Yep. I had $200,000 cash that I needed for a deposit in New York. He said, and me and my family got in there and worked, and 10 of us live in that house. And then we going to help each other so that the other, because he lived with his mother, his father, his wife, his children. He said, now we working to save our money so our children can move out. Folks, it can be done. It can be done. It's wealth. I was today thinking about how many houses I owned at one point, how many I sold when property wasn't going for nothing. And when I count up, if I'd have sold those houses now, oh my goodness. So you got to get in. You got to get in. Last week, Rashid White talked about we need a black bank. Working together, putting bathroom towels, exactly. Carolyn Lane, yes, I've seen it as well, Pat. It's about working together. There are so many right now black businesses out there, black restaurants, black entrepreneurs. I went to my favorite flower shop on Fillmore. All of the flowers from my anniversary, I didn't even notice, came from him. And when I walked in, I went in to get some flowers, and I looked on his counter, and it was invoice after invoice of True Bethel, True Bethel, True Bethel. Because when our members are sick, we call him to send the flowers. The restaurant, what restaurant just opened up on Main Street? They're doing soup and all that. I got to go see them. But is it Soul? Is it something?
Taste of Soul.
Dry Cleaner, 874 East Delavan. Please go over. I'm going over this week. Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. 3 locations to serve you. Many families served this week. This is what I'm talking about. You got to support those who support you. Or else you can't blame it on the government. Sometimes we are our worst enemy. Go to Atlanta. Black people buying from black people, lifting up black business. Go to Charlotte. And a lot of times people who are progressive leave and go there because they know they can make it there. I believe we can make it here if we change our attitude and if we speak up against those who tear us down instead of sitting back and sharing the information. That's what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to the station, throwing it over, who over there, Shotty?
Yep.
Shotty Swag. Shotty is back over to you. Until next week, power to the people.